Hey guys, Zangetsu 134 here, bringing you another Kamen Rider Agito review. This time it'll be of episodes 13 and 14, The Ghost Arc. Yeah, this is one of the ones I actually have a toy for, so I popped out my ghost icon. Okay, so I'm not the biggest fan of Ghost. I liked it when it first premiered. I liked the fact that we were gonna get like a ghost-themed character. Um, I happen to like Kamen Rider Kiva. I know it's not one of the better series, but it has a special place in my heart. Um, In fact, when we get to Kiva, which I hope we get to Kiva, you'll see what one of the things I'll have for that. So we'll see about that. Um, like for me, the problem is Ghost got really boring really fast. Like it basically boiled down to Takara dies again. He has to gather the icons, and Takara himself was just kind of boring. There was not much to him other than I want my life to burn bright. I mainly got the Ghost Driver and like the icons for Commoner Spectre. This comes with the Ghost Driver. I mainly bought it so I could get Spectre's toys. In fact, I have Spectre's toys upstairs. I don't play with them very often. I should do that sometime. And apologies if my phone is vibrating. I'm getting text messages. It's not important. I'll just keep recording. Anyway, so I actually was kind of surprised we got a Ghost Arc because Gates had the Ghost and Drive ride watches, so I assumed we weren't getting those characters in the show. But it looks like we might. In fact, they actually finally explain where Gates got those. He just stole them from Omazeo. I'm not sure how he stole them from Omazeo, since Omazeo could destroy whole armies on his own. But it's whatever. He's I guess Gates just is able to steal them. I'm assuming he probably actually got them from Waz, or that Waz helped him steal them because it's important to uh, to Sogo becoming king by interacting with Gates in order to get his Zcon driver so that he could become Zio. Um, so yeah, the episode opens with Gates finally returning back to the group and him trying to attack Sogo when they come in when Sogo decides to go out because Gates is being stupid, trying to kill him super early in the morning. And basically he runs into another ghost, which is confusing to Soko since again but since he didn't know that was going to happen. And we find out that another ghost is attacking people that are going to cause accidents. In fact, in the opening, a guy is like either drunk or probably he lost control of his car in the rain. Another ghost stops his car and prepares to kill him when he's jumped by is jumped by Takeru Tenkuji, aka Kamen Rider Ghost, but he's not Kamen Rider Ghost, obviously, because thanks to another ghost, he no longer exists. Or his Kamen Rider abilities no longer exist. And before they can try to figure out what's going on, Kamen Rider Agito appears, carrying um, his sword from Fire Form, which is weird. Granted, there's reasons for that weirdness, and I'll get to it when we explain it. But even then, it's still kind of weird, judging by what's going on in that. So yeah. And so Ghost gets away, and the next day, Sogo finds him attacking someone else who almost injures someone while riding a bike. He captures the guy riding the bike and sucks his soul out, which is kind of interesting, and because he's another ghost, it's, Takeru tried to save people and souls. Another ghost takes people's souls. And so, which actually comes into play with his ability. Apparently, he can release the souls he captured and then absorb them. So, like, he captures them, but he doesn't absorb them, and then he releases them, and then, I guess, eats them. It's not really clear how he does that. And they make him more powerful, which is the Time Jacker's plan, of course, for him to steal more souls so that he can be powerful enough to defeat Omazeo. So Takeru intervenes and another ghost gets away, but then he gets captured by Takeru and the others because they think he is the Kamen Rider that attacked them that night, which of course he isn't. And this is where we get revelations that Waz decided to work with the Time Jackers because of the fact that in the last arc, Sogo altered history so that um, he could save Gates, which is technically a way for him to prevent himself from becoming an overlord. which technically arguably fails since they're still doing it. But basically, Woz doesn't want him to keep interrupting history, so he's joined up with the Time Jackers, which is odd which is odd for the Time Jackers because they don't really get why he's helping them, but it's obvious because like they both have the same idea. They want to prevent Sogo from messing up their plans, and so while that's going on, they decide to hire a strange man, which of course is later revealed to be Tsukasa Kadoya, aka Kamen Rider Decade, another rider of it's kind of funny they put Ghost and Decade together since most people consider them to be weak slash terrible series. I I used to be in the same people that thought Decade was weak or was was awful, but after watching it for doing a month-long blog thing I used to write, which sadly is no longer exists. Um, I think it's not bad. I think there's definitely problems with it, mostly the fact that it's written by Shoji Onomura and produced by Shirakura, which in my opinion is just all bad. If you've ever seen Kamen Rider Taizen, you'll know. But and they find Tsukasa just sitting in what appears to be like a tower of some sort. He's just sort of chilling. They don't really explain what he's doing there. He just sort of is, and apparently he's working for the Time Jackers so that he can prevent Gates and Sogo from defeating another ghost. Um, which of course reveals that he was in fact another Agito. In fact, we never see him in the Decade costume. We only see him in Agito, Hibiki, and Ryuki, which again is kind of hilarious. He's an all aside from Agito, suits based on series that. Well, no, technically Ryuki's not either, but he does like Hibiki's considered a really weak season, but Agito and Ryuki, depending on who you ask, are kind of seasons you either like or you don't. I'm on the fence for well, when we get to the Agito and Ryuki episodes, if we do, I don't know if there's gonna be more movies, but I know we're not getting a double arc, a Kuga arc, which is depressing, but understandable. I know Joe Odagiri won't come back to play Kuga, and Deno. Apparently, all three of them are going to be in the movie, so they're not even going to be in the show, or they're not going to be in episodes. But I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, what was I going with this? Oh yeah. So basically, he's hired by the Time Jackers to keep them from interfering. And so basically, we find out that another ghost is the brother of Takeru's client, Mikon, as her brother disappeared at one day when he was having an accident, or during an accident, where she almost got killed by like a bunch of like girders being dropped from a construction beam, and and he disappeared ever since. But Sogo, and I think everyone else figures that he's the next on the rider. And he is, but it's not exactly how it was in the other ones. It's actually kind of interesting because it's not, because Wool is the one who makes him the Time Jacker, and it's not to his MO where he usually makes a contract with someone by saying, something bad's gonna happen, but if you become my another rider, you will be, you'll live, or you'll be able to prevent something from happening. And he rejects. He's like, no, I can save my sister, even if it means, even if it costs my life. I don't need your power to save, because he clearly realizes how much of a bad idea this is. Side note, just to bring up for later, Woz apparently is immune to the time pause thing, unlike Sogo and Gates, even in their rider forms, are not immune to it, but Woz is not, so apparently him and the Time Jackers have similar power stats. So yeah. And so basically her brother is actually dead. So if they defeat another ghost, he'll die. Like, the only thing keeping him alive is the another ride watch, because he's basically a shambling corpse, which is, again, it fits to, because Takeru himself was dead, so it makes sense. It's kind of creepy, and it makes Ghost kind of like this creepy zombie thing in the show, but in the episodes, but it kind of works for me. Because I'm totally into Kamen Rider having low key horror in it for kids. I mean, Kamen Rider Gaim was all about an eldritch abomin like a bunch of high schoolers being drugged into a war against an eldritch abomination that takes the form of a sentient forest and is slowly encroaching onto our planet and turning everyone into monsters via its magic fruit. Um, and so they do, of course, Gates knowing that it's another rider Ghost, gives Sogo the ride watch so that he can, the Ghost ride watch so he can defeat him when Kamen Rider Agito shows up again. Which I give Gates and Tsukuyomi credit; they both know who it is, and they figure out how to track Ghost basically by the fact that he's constantly attacking people who are going to cause accidents. As both them, or as both Tsukuyomi and the Time Jackers, both have magic tablets that can like tell them stuff about the past, and so they find an accident that's going to happen very soon, and they track him down, and Wool tries to tell them, and Wool tells them that, and that's when Decay shows up, long enough to defeat both Gates and Sogo pretty quickly. Once again, using the flame sword as while Agito's in his ground form. It is kind of weird that he's using that sword while he's in base Agito, but not completely weird. You could argue that because the Ride Booker can take the form of any of their weapons, and because Agito Ground was normally a melee fighter, when he used the Ride Booker, it turned into the flame sword because it will it the it's really weird because the Ride Booker sometimes turns into the weapons, or like it will summon the weapons of the rider, and sometimes it just is the Ride Booker. Like with Ryuki, Tsukasa didn't get the Drag Raider sword; it just became the Ride Booker in its slash mode, which is just which is what makes Decade so frustrating, because like Kabuto has a sword weapon with the kunai gun, but he just uses the Ride Booker in Kabuto mode. But anyway, it's whatever. You could just argue that he pulled out a slash card, and when he does that, if the rider has a weapon he can use, it becomes that weapon, even if it doesn't make sense with the character. I don't know why they couldn't have just used Kiva, Garuru, or any other form that has a sword normally. It went with Agito. I don't really. I'm guessing it's mostly because the joke is it's another Agito. But basically, he defeats them, and then he leaves using both Agito and Kamen Rider Hibiki, which he uses to defeat Sogo, and allowing another ghost to attempt to suck his soul out, but Takeru intervenes because he uses his Shinto priest training to prevent him from capturing Sogo's soul, simply causing the soul to be separated from Sogo's body. Which is where the first episode ends. Episode 13 ends. Episode 14 opens with Tsukuyomi and Sogo, or Gates worrying over Sogo, which is weird because you would think Gates would be happy because it means Sogo can't become an overlord. They just have to, but it's whatever, because Gates is frustrating. He's honestly probably the weakest part of this series, even though I love his design, just because his character progression has to pretty much be in jogging in place, because he has all of his current forms right now. And he won't be until he gets his upgrade form. He's pretty much stuck in I want to kill Sogo, but I don't actually want to kill Sogo right now, which means he's probably going to be very stagnant until it's time for the new toys. So, unfortunately, and it's also probably going to be a shame because he probably won't be getting an upgrade form until after Waz gets his. Seeing as how the scans have shown that he's going to become a Kamen Rider, which I'm assuming he's probably going to become one either during these episodes or shortly thereafter. If not this month, maybe next month. If not late January, early February. We'll see. So basically, Gates goes back while all this is going on. Takeru tries to help out Sogo, because he's the only one who can see him, because he has the actual ghost, the Ghost Ride watch that will eventually become Sogo's, which will eventually become Omazio's, and Gates will steal it because time travel. Yes, I know how complicated that sounds. It's time travel. But basically, it gives him some abilities that Ghost had, which is that he can see ghosts. And so Sogo decides to have Takeru help him by having Takeru pilot the time machine so that they can go back to 2015 and try to prevent the accident, which they do. Except that Wool decides to not play fair by making it and says, forget that. I'll just make him I'll make him another ghost, even if the accident doesn't happen. Although it does alter history long enough that Takeru soul returns to his body temporarily. Um, which Waz even states, you shouldn't have done that. You can't. You need to stop altering history and just accept that you're going to become my overlord, which of course upsets Sogo a little bit because all that hard work for nothing, or at least that's what you think. But he still, of course, becomes another ghost. But before that, we actually get to see Makoto, aka Kamen Rider Spectre, and Takeru from our timeline get their memories back because Wool, in order to stall them long enough, creates Ganma, the foot soldiers from Kamen Rider Ghost. And in doing so, Makoto shows up to help him, and due to the fact that history was being reset to its original state for a moment, he remembers, oh right, I'm Kamen Rider Ghost, and they actually get to fight Ganma. It was actually kind of cool. Shame that's all Makoto does. Like, they really only paid him for like the 5 seconds he gets to be in there, especially when Makoto was one of the best parts of Ghost, aside from Necrom. Which, side note, I wish Necrom had actually shown up in this because he's actually probably the best written of the three. Um, and I like Kamen Rider Spectre. Um, so basically, of course, that fails, and Ghost once again loses his powers, but he apparently gets to have his memories back. And basically, him and the spirit of Ghost Takeru return to, or Ghost Sogo return to the present, which apparently, I guess because like his memories came back enough, he remembered that his friend, his female friend, whose name I can't remember, basically the female protagonist of Ghost, created a device that allows a person to be sprayed with this energy that allows the ghost to become visible to everyone and also be heard by everyone. The Shiranui, and so basically this was actually was Sogo and Takeru's plan from the beginning, that they didn't want to defeat. Like, they knew that the Time Jackers would make him another ghost, which again shows Sogo's cunning and the underlying, he could technically become Omazio, or he, like that. While he is still a good person, he still has this cunning, manipulative side that kind of shows that he could uh, become another, or Omazio. Um, so, uh, uh, where was I going with? Oh yeah. So basically, Takeru or Sogo now has the ability to fight. Using since the Shiranui has made him tangible, he travels back in time. Him and Gates both do to stop. Oh yeah, actually, Gates actually went back first before this, and Decade once again interferes with him defeating um, another ghost. In fact, using his ghost. In fact, he himself turning into Kamen Rider Ghost. So there's a three-way ghost brawl. I actually almost completely forgot about that. It's a pretty good fight. And in fact, he steals Gates's ghost watch and resets it back to a blank ghost watch. I guess or just a blank ride watch, which is weird. I think the implication is that he destroyed it. Um, and he but in and hands him the decayed ride watch. I guess implying that this was Takeru's plan all along, that he was basically just there to test Gates and Sogo, and him and another ghost take off for parts unknown, because Wool or not Wool, Aura was going to take him back using the or her time machine, but Takeru can just time travel using his world portals because it's technically in the world of the past. Except that that wasn't a thing the Decade could do. But it's whatever. Like Decade has so many powers. Like I'm not even gonna really completely complain about it. It just scratches my head because if that were the case, why didn't in his actual show he use that to try and figure out who he was because he had amnesia the entire show? But whatever. So, they go back and both Gates and So go together. Unfortunately, they're stopped by Wool and Aura in their time machines, Captain Kidd and Castle Doron. Um, However, it's not. It's really mostly just a momentary delay, as both of them whip out various ride watches to turn their time machines into Kamen Rider duos. First being them turning into X8 and Genmu, and then Build and Cross, which was actually cool. I like that. It was homaging the fact that the fact that X8 and Genmu did work together in the second half of the show, and the fact that they were while they were variants, they actually were an interesting combo team. Um, and I think it also is kind of a reference to their fight against when he was Genmu level 0 and X8 against Kamen Rider Parade, um, which was cool. But yeah, so they go back and with and Tsukasa and Waz watch from the background, which was hilarious, especially when Gates finally gives there's too many Kamen Riders. There's too many Kamen Riders in this episode. Gives Sogo the Decade Ride Watch, which gives us Sogo's first upgrade form, that of Kamen Rider Gates Decade armor, which is hilarious because like Waz does his whole rejoice thing and Tsukasa's like, "Who are you talking to?" he almost does it again because um okay, so I'll get into it. Basically, the armor is basically just the decayed armor over it, and I actually like how it works because like it has like the decayed stripe and it has barcodes, and the numbers for the barcode actually write out. I want to say decayed because that was actually a thing. Like it actually writes it in like with the numbers representing letters of the alphabet. It writes out decayed. I also think it writes out Zio. I'm not entirely sure. I forget what it. I think it's something else, but there's decayed and something else. And it also has like a card. Basically, his the face looks like instead of being like the actual decayed face, it's or like having the kanji like the other ones, it's actually the decayed ride card. Um, and of course, it gives him his new weapon, the Rider Saber, which you know the Heisei commoners, because it has all of the icons of the Heisei riders on it, except for Zio, and they're all in order except Decades is at the top because of course this is for the Decade armor. Um, and um, Basically the armor allows him to slot another ride watch into the Decade ride watch as it has a slot. It actually has a slot for a ride watch, and when doing so, it gives them, which is kind of weird because it technically gives them their mid upgrade form, like their mid season upgrade, as the fandom calls it. Basically, which is weird because sometimes it's like their first upgrade. Like I get like for example, it makes build into Rabbit Tank sparkling, um, which was when he used the Rabbit Tank sparkling full bottle, and which makes sense because like his best matches weren't really forms; they were just powers that Build could use normally. He didn't really get like a power up until then. But for Ghost, instead of Tokon Boost, it's his Grateful Damashi, which I guess makes kind of sense because like it wouldn't be his Ghost Parkas. It would be either Tokon Boost or Grateful, which I guess Grateful makes more sense. But then again, that was just because Ghost was weird. I didn't really get why Grateful wasn't his final form. Instead, it was Mugen. Ghost is complicated and stupid that way. Um, because when he uses X-Aid, apparently, because I saw magazine scans, it's his Mighty Brothers double action or double X form, which splits him in half, which I guess was his mid-season upgrade for X-Aid. I don't know. I guess if he uses Forze, it would make him Magnet States then. It's whatever. It's whatever. I mean, I didn't really. I guess it makes more sense because for Zeo, he should be able to access every Ghost Parka, and that form does that. I did like that just because it makes sense for Decade because Decade could do that. He could change into the different forms of various riders. So the Decade armor basically powers up his other ride watches. So that's kind of cool. Also, whenever it does anything, it goes Decade, like his belt. Um, and of course we get the Rider Haysaber, which is cool. The toy actually and the sword itself doesn't actually need ride watches to do different things. It has its own finishers by spinning the watch hand on it, because the whole idea is it's supposed to be like a watch, like the blade and the handle are belt straps. And basically, the more you spin it, the more riders you can use. You can use the various power ups of the riders. Like in this, he spins it up to drive, and he can summon different tires, like the different tires, like Funky Spike and Midnight Shadow, and I want to say he also had Flare, Max Flare. Yeah, he by basically doing that, he could do various energy projectiles of other riders, and he can also mix them together. I think what's called a deck or a dual. It was, I think it's like dual time mix. Like if he would like he did build and X-Aid, would be build X-Aid dual mix or time break or something along those lines. And the finisher, of course, is he takes the Decade ride watch and puts it in. I think it's called and then he spins it a bunch of times. I think in the show he spins it 20 times, in reference to the fact that he's using all 20 riders with that. In I know the toy it's only 3, and it's I think it's ultimate time break is the finisher. Which of course he uses to defeat another ghost while being in Ghost Mugen armor. But yeah, while he does the build sparking, he gets build sparking armor, and Waz almost does the whole rejoice thing again. And Tsukasa takes the book from him. He's like, just stop. But it was cool. It clearly was a power up, and he was able to just stomp another ghost. Um, and that the and so it's defeated. The episode ends with Sogo finally returning in his body after defeating another ghost, which I actually like, because basically but this time Mikan's brother is alive, so basically when he destroys the Ghost Ride Watch, the another Ghost Watch, of course he's alive now, so he's not dead. So basically it's a happy ending all around. The episode ends with Tsukasa returning home, or Sogo returning home to find Tsukasa. I did it again. Tsukasa basically sitting at the table, and Tsukasa says that more or less he wanted to see what Sogo was made of, and he decides that he will destroy this world because he doesn't want Omazeo to become a reality. That basically he wants to prevent Sogo from becoming a king. And of course, this was all part of Waz's plan because he knew that this would more or less keep Sogo on the track to becoming Omazeo instead of preventing it. And of course, the episode ending with a preview that states that more or less Sogo is going to travel up to 2068 because he wants to meet his future self. So yeah, in general, I thought the Ghost Arc was actually not bad. It has some weird stuff happening in it. Mostly the stuff involved with Decade didn't really mesh up. And of course they don't explain how Tsukasa has a new Deca driver, which of course they're selling as a toy. That is apparently called the Neo Deca driver. I'm assuming in the next episode, since that arc's probably going to be the actual Decade arc, that we're going to get an actual explanation to why he has a new Deca driver. Which of course, toy line wise, it's from what we saw of the toy, it's basically an upgraded Deca driver that allows him to have access to all 20 Heisei riders, including Zio himself. Um, because yeah. But anyway, I thought it was really good. It was kind of weird how Decade just shows up, but that's just how the show rolls. It leaves more answers than it gives, or questions than it gives answers, but it at least gives you some tidbits. It was nice to finally get an explanation to why um Sogo had, or Gates had the drive and Ghost Ride watches. And I liked Sogo's plan here, and I actually liked that he interacted more with Takeru. It was nice that he finally got to interact more with the writer guest star of the, or guest appearance of the week. It was just kind of frustrating in that um, we didn't get a lot to see of Makoto, and it kind of felt like Gates and Tsukuyomi were once again very superfluous to the episode. It was more about Sogo, which makes sense because the next two episodes are going to be very character central. I will admit though, like for all that, it at least gives Sogo some character development and shows more of Sogo as a character and how he can be smart when he wants to be. It was cool seeing Masahiro Inoue reprise his role as Kamen Rider Decade as Tsukasa Kadoya. Um, if nothing else, even if you don't like Decade, I know a lot of people who like Tsukasa just himself, just because he's a fun character and one of the few Heisei riders that routinely comes back because he just loves being the character. And of course, I like him as Jinga in Garo, which I need to get back to Garo at some point. I actually need to like rewatch Makai Retsuden and actually watch all the series I've actually missed over the last couple of years, just because I kind of fell out with it and I had a hard time finding a good place to watch it. Um, but like I said, it's not bad. It has some of the problems with that Zio has had throughout it. That of the fact that the guest stars don't get to do a lot, and the fact that like it doesn't want to answer any questions. But at the same time, it at least gives you droplets of information, or at least lets Sogo be an interesting character. And of course, Waz and the Time Jackers are fun. But anyways, guys, I think that's gonna be it for this vlog. Join me again next time. Hopefully, I won't have to start. I won't keep doing it where I watch the episodes when the third episode, when the beginning of the next arc shows up. But that's kind of just how it's been since the place I'm watching them now don't air the episodes until like a week after they've aired. But anyways, guys, come back in 2 weeks when I review the. I guess it'll be the Decade arc. I'm not entirely sure what it will be. Anyways, guys, I'm Zangetsu 134, and I will catch you later. Until then, take care.